Hello, this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in Scorpio, which will be on November 11th at 12:47 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 9:47 a.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time, West Coast in the US. Now, the new moon will be 19 degrees of Scorpio, and a new moon is always a new beginning of a new moon cycle that lasts for 28 days. And so therefore, this is a great time for us to set some intentions for the next 28 days. And I'll be talking a little bit about more the best and perfect time to set those intentions at the end of this video. So stay tuned. But now let's talk first about the new moon in Scorpio. What is the Scorpio energy all about? Well, Scorpio is a very passionate energy. It's a very extreme energy. It's like all or nothing. And it brings a focus on to intimate relationships and what we deeply desire from an emotional point of view. And so there's always, a higher and a low vibration of every energy. And the highest vibration of Scorpio, or the spiritual task of Scorpio, is to really learn to let go of whatever is dead and toxic in our lives, and to realize that letting go is not about loss, but it's about transforming something. And to also realize that every ending has a new beginning. And so therefore, it's not about just the ending of something. It's also, the transformation of that is the new beginning, right? So with this particular new moon, we also have not just the sun and the moon in Scorpio, but also Mercury is conjunct to the new moon in Scorpio. So this powerfully reminds us that our thinking must transform. How we think, how we communicate, what we say to ourselves and to other people. So we're really invited to kind of face our fears, to embrace our shadows, and to reclaim our inner power in terms of our thinking. Now, a shadow is anything that has been suppressed, denied, or like an undeveloped quality about ourselves. And when it's not properly integrated, these things, we do feel disempowered, or disempowerment is something that's usually a result of that. Now, we also can be made vulnerable towards manipulation and domination of other people, because very often what we do is we'll project the things that we're rejecting about ourselves onto other people, and then someone in the outside world will show us particular energy that we haven't yet integrated within ourselves. So basically, anything that we disown owns us, because there's always, the energy is always still going to be there, even if we're not acknowledging it, even if we're not incorporating or integrating it in who we are. The energy is still there. So therefore, the energy will somehow either come at us from the outside world, or it will come out of us when we least expect it, when we're sort of like, tired or hungry, or when we're in a bad place and we're not able to fully control the things that we have suppressed. They will kind of show up all of a sudden, right? So in that regard, then those energies will own us. And then also, what we resist persists. So when we're really kind of pushing things away from us, they will just stay in place, and they will actually become stronger in their energy and more dominant, because that resisting of something builds the energy. When energy wants to move, and when we're resisting it, it kind of has to move in place. It can't move on. So therefore, the energy becomes stronger. And that's why a lot of the times the things that we most resist or most suppress are the very energies that can be extremely destructive for us in our lives as well. Now, questions you can ask yourself here with this new moon is, what qualities have you disowned, suppressed, rejected about yourself? And just really be as honest as possible here, because, the more honest you can be, very often it's qualities that we don't find attractive, right? Or that we don't like. And so just take a real honest look there, because the more you can integrate these qualities little by little, you don't have to, go overboard, just step by step, little by little start to integrate these energies. It's a very, very healthy process. Now, the other question you can ask yourself is, what if you accepted that all of it is a part of you, that it's all perfect, that it's all healthy, that it's okay to embrace the very things that you don't like, about other people, or that you don't like about yourself, to just know that that each energy has its appropriate moment in time. Sometimes, we need to be able to stand up for ourselves. Sometimes we need to be able to protect ourselves, right? Or to do things that are maybe a little bit more extreme. But we don't have to do this all the time, obviously, but there is an appropriate time and moment for everything, for all qualities. But if we're not integrating them, then we're not really empowering ourselves or feeling empowered, because then we don't have access to these qualities as we need them, right? So this new moon really presents an opportunity for us to release old patterns, to integrate, and also, in particular with the thought patterns, because Mercury is involved, to really shift our attention from the head to the heart, to really allow ourselves to let go of thinking patterns that are fear-based. Now, our mind has the ability to move between higher consciousness, which is, ideas and insights and intuitive thinking, then consciousness, which is, aware choices we make in the here and now, and our unconsciousness, which is conditioning, or like that autopilot thinking, where it's just kind of like coming out of us and we're not even necessarily aware of that's part of our thinking process. Now, the message that we're getting with this new moon is that we have a choice in each moment, and in particular in how we interact with other people or how we connect. And we can either take a conscious and aware approach to others from a place of love and empowerment, or we can allow the autopilot to take over and have our conditioning lead the way. And one thing we do need to remember with conditioning is not that it's necessarily all bad, but it always deals with what was and not with what is. So we're always sort of like being dragged back into the past when we're dealing with conditioning. So that's really important to remember. Now, because Scorpio is all about transformation, it invites us to create a deeper, more passionate connection with ourselves, so that we can really fully embrace all of who we are and become more authentic and empowered. And all of this happens through taking a conscious approach to our intimate relationships and our authentic connections. And that also includes an authentic connection with ourselves, because if we don't have that, then it's not very likely that we're going to have an authentic connection with somebody else, right? So it's always connected with us. What happens internally here is what happens externally in the outside world as well. Now, trust plays a really central role in healthy, intimate relationships. And trust is something, of course, that develops over time. So it's not always something that we give away freely to everybody, of course. But it is very important to remember that, when you have been through trauma in the past, it does take a little bit longer to develop trust than it does for those people where there hasn't been any trauma, especially with intimate relationships or with relationships in general, right? And so this also applies, though, with a trust towards ourselves, because the first relationship we have is, relationship we have with our parents, obviously, but then we also have a relationship with ourselves. And so sometimes we don't trust even our own selves in terms of like forming a relationship or connecting to another person. We're not quite trusting that we're capable of making the right choices, right? So we have to also develop a trust with ourselves in order to know that we are making the right choices when we're connecting to someone, or when we're allowing somebody else to trust, right? Or when we're allowing ourselves to trust someone else, I should say, right? So I also talked about this a little bit 2 weeks ago in my full moon video, full moon in Taurus. So check that out if you like to hear a little bit more about that, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about Mars and Pluto, because, they're both rulers of Scorpio. Mars was considered the ruler of Scorpio in the past, so it's the traditional ruler. But then when Pluto was discovered in 1930s, it took over the role of being the ruler for Scorpio. So it's considered the modern ruler of Scorpio. And so Pluto, so we want to basically talk about both of these planets since they're connected to Scorpio. Pluto is now journeying through Capricorn, where it's making a beautiful opportune sextile with Mercury in Scorpio. And so this is a very favorable combination for us in terms of our long-term goals and feeling empowered. So we can really transform what no longer serves us and build a healthy foundation for our long-term goals. But again, with a sextile, it is an opportunity, which means that we have to take actions towards making that opportunity a reality, right? To really take advantage of it. Now, Pluto is also in a white square with Uranus in Aries and a trine to Jupiter in Virgo. So this is inviting us to move forward with something. We have the ability to feel more optimistic with that Jupiter placement and take the risk to move something forward. We also have to make some adjustments as well because of that Uranus-Pluto square. And then because Jupiter is in conjunct with Uranus at the time of the new moon as well, there's this sense of needing to make inner adjustments as well. So we're needing to create a shift here. It's a very creative place. It's a very dynamic energy. And so we're being invited to get ready for a shift in our lives, ready to make some changes. And this will really be part of an evolutionary process for us. The one thing that's really important with this combination is flexibility. Flexibility is key. Adaptability is key, as is becoming the observer of our emotional and mental body. Okay, and when I say emotional and mental body, I mean our thinking body, or our thinking intellectual ability, and what goes on an emotional level, right? Now Mars, which is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, right, is moving through the last degree of Virgo at the time of the new moon. So it's about to change signs. And it aligns with the North Node and Venus in Libra. So this is another evolutionary message with this new moon about finding a healthy balance between the masculine and feminine energies. And we've been having this message appearing quite often these past several lunations that we've been talking about, if you remember. There's always this sense of like needing to find this healthy connection between the masculine and feminine. And in this particular case, it's really about allowing the masculine to serve the process of transformation and allowing courage to guide us, right? And connect that to our heart space, because Venus is all about the heart space, right? Now, what roles have you played or embodied in regards to feminine and masculine energies? That is a really great question to ask yourself with this new moon. And then another question you can ask yourself too is, how can you let go of anything that no longer serves that balance, that feminine masculine balance, right? So it's really important for us to learn how to integrate the feminine and the masculine in a healthy, balanced way. Because it really helps us to be more whole and to come from that place of, that all of it is good. It's not that one is better than the other. And in the past, the masculine energy, which is all about accomplishing and going after and directness and linear movement, that has had a lot of dominance in the past. And so it's important for us to now, wheel that back a little bit, or maybe not so much wheel it back, but kind of like allow the feminine to catch up with the masculine in terms of importance, in terms of it being both extremely valuable in our lives. That, letting go and allowing and being present, and taking a break once in a while is just as valuable as going after things and as, accomplishing and moving, in a straight line. So I hope all of this makes sense what I'm saying here. But to sum it all up for this new moon, let yourself integrate all of who you are, even those parts that are connected to past traumas or pain. know that all of this has served something for yourself to gain strength, to gain wisdom, to gain understanding of yourself and life in general. And as best as you can, allow those parts to feel safe and loved, and let them know that you are okay. Now that you're an adult, you are making the choices now. Nobody else is making them for you any longer. So you can make conscious, love-based, informed choices. Now, there's nothing really that we need to defend or protect necessarily most of the time, obviously. I mean, if you are in a room with a lion, or if you are in a room with a maniac or someone who wants to actually hurt you, maybe then we have to protect and defend ourselves, obviously. But how often does that actually happen, right? So, but we are very powerful in our own right. We're capable of really showing up for ourselves all the time. And it's something that we forget because there's all these fears that we have and all that conditioning that has been creating all this fearful thinking. So we forget how powerful we are, and it's really just a forgetting because we are that. So be courageous and be kind to yourself. And here are some more questions you can ask yourself, coaching questions, especially if when you're setting your intentions. These are great questions to ask. What if I let compassion and courage think and speak on my behalf? Great question, right? And this next one is really wonderful too. What if my thoughts and words were really instruments of revelation and empowerment? Great questions to ask yourself for this whole month, but also when you set your intentions, okay? Now, and I'm going to talk about setting intentions in a moment. Now, first, if you have an ascendant, a career point, or personal planets in 17 to 21 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius, then this new moon is definitely going to feel more strong for you. You're going to feel more connected to this new moon. But even if you don't have those degrees or signs, personal planets, or in those degrees or signs, the house placement in your natal chart where the new moon is taking place, that area of your life is going to be affected by the new moon energies. So take a look at that. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't have a birth chart, or if you don't know how to look that up in your birth chart, feel free to watch my video called How to Read Your Birth Chart. It's available on YouTube and on my website. And if you can't find it, just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line. And then my assistant will email you a high def version of that video with some handouts. Okay. Now, one thing I would like to mention before we get to the intentions is that I have a deal of the month that I'm offering for the month of November, which will be available until November 30th. So go to my website and check out what that is. Go to astrologercoach.com and click on deal of the month, and you will see what's available. This is a great deal for anybody who is an astrology student or anybody who wants a deeper understanding of astrology. That would be the perfect offer for you. So check it out. And let's talk about setting intentions now. So in order for us to set some powerful intention for this moon cycle, we need to choose also the right timing to do that. And the best time to set intentions is very soon after the new moon becomes exact. So not before, after the new moon becomes exact, and definitely not during a moon void of course phase. So the moon void of course phases we want to avoid in terms of setting intentions. So this month, the most potent time to set intention is anywhere between 12:47 p.m. on November 11th and 9:54 a.m. on November 12th. And all of this is New York time, East Coast time. And then again from 10:14 a.m. on November 12th until 12:45 p.m. on November 13th. Again, all of this is New York time, East Coast time. So if you do live in a different time zone, feel free to plug in those times into a time zone converter, which you can find on the internet. If you Google time zone converter, you will find it. And if that's all a little bit too complicated for you, then feel free to just join me on Facebook or on Twitter, on my Facebook fan page on Twitter. And I will be posting during those times when it's the most potent time to set intentions. I'll be making sure that I'll send out reminders for you. And then all you have to do is just set your intentions when you read those reminders. All right? That's the easiest way to do it. If you want to set intentions at a time after the most potent times, you can still do that. However, I would advise you to do them as soon as possible, possibly even before the first quarter moon. So within the first 5 or within the first week of the new moon, basically. If you do it any later than that, it may not be that powerful anymore. So if you want to do that at a different time, just avoid the moon void, of course, phases. And in order to look up what they are or when they are, you can go to my weekly forecasts page on my website at AstrologerCoach.com. Just click on the link that says weekly forecasts. And you can also get these weekly forecasts sent to you via email if you like. I have 2 different email lists. If you want to get the weekly forecasts, then just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and write weekly forecasts in the subject line. Those will come once a week, every Sunday evening. And if you just want to get a newsletter that only comes twice a month, then feel free to email us and just write newsletter in the subject line. And if you want to receive both, that's possible too, of course, then just write weekly forecast and newsletter in the subject line. All right. And my assistant will take care of you, will add you to the appropriate mailing list. And that way you will get exactly what you want and not get overwhelmed with emails. All right. Now, if you have any questions about this new moon, any general questions, feel free to email me at sonja@astrologercoach.com. I'm always happy to answer general questions. If it's anything personal that requires of me to pull up your birth chart, I will ask you to book a reading with me just to honor my time and to make sure that I can answer your question fully and to your satisfaction. All right? I hope that makes sense. Have a fantastic new moon. Remember, it's an introverted time. It's a time where we get quiet to check in with ourselves, with our intuitive selves, you know, what we're needing to seed or what we're needing to put out there for the next 28 days. And that's when we're setting our intentions, and that's how we set our intentions too, right? So have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.